Okay. Simple question for you. Who is Dr. S. Jai Shankar, the man? Like that people don't know. I'll tell you why. Right now, you're very popular on shorts and reels for your very aggressive comebacks and your very aggressive responses. And in many ways, I feel like Virat Kohli and yourself are the faces of young India in some ways. This is how young India
There's a
thinks.
slight age difference between us.
No, but you're still the guy young India is like cheering for. When we see you up there talking to all these people from other countries, we're like, yep, that's the response that they should get.
Look, I'm a trained diplomat whose general SOP is, play it cool, sort of don't make too many waves, etc. Now, partly I've transitioned into being a political face, okay? But even I would say the diplomatic side of me, which is still very deep, after all, I've done it for 45 years, maybe more now. It's like this, I'm very nice to people who are nice to me. When I get pushed, I think it's natural to push back. And one of the things that has been happening to a bit is in the last year and a half, people have been pushing us a bit, So I feel, it's you brought up Virat Kohli cricket analogy, if you get a few bouncers, you want to do something with it, no?
Hit that pull shot.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say the PM Modi said that you have adbhut thoughts.
No, he didn't exactly say adbhut. I think he said वो अंदरूनी हाँ कि उनको बहुत अनुभव है. Look, to be very frank, we had got off a plane. I was myself a little bit zonked getting off the plane. And he was talking about just outside to a group of supporters. And I guess, I didn't ask him after that, okay? I guess what he was really saying is, look, this guy has watched a lot of people come and go. So he's seen a lot. So maybe you should talk to him and ask him what's different.
What's your gauge?
Or what's different?
Yeah, about you.
No, I don't think it was so much what he was talking about me. He was actually saying that, look, guys, talk to him because he will tell you how much the Prime Minister's visits have changed, how much foreign policy has changed, how much the country has changed. So it was more my thoughts rather than me as a subject that he was talking about. That's my take of it.
I think it's one and the same thing.
Whatever.
Okay. And professionally, when do you feel the most alive? Like when do you feel that you were born to do exactly this?
That's a feeling which kind of grew on me over a period of time. Part of it was, I actually studied international relations, which is not that usual for people in diplomats. Now, I'm only the second foreign minister who's actually been a diplomat. Natwar Singh was the only other guy who'd been in that. So, in a sense, my studies, my first long profession, my current responsibility, and even I had a brief break in business. Even that was international. I was with the Tata Group and they gave me a kind of role in international business. So I've been in that sense, that feeling that you're bound to do this, frankly, has grown a lot. And in a way, I also came from a household which was very international. I live international. My family relationships are international. I spend most of my time international. So I guess it's sort of in you.
Okay. But at this stage of your life, is there any moment?
Occasionally, I do give lifestyle advice to younger people. Rarely, mostly when they ask. Okay. I don't dispense otherwise. I tell people, look, if you really like doing something, you'll be very good at it. The problem with most of us is we end up doing things which is not necessarily what we want to do.
It's what we're told to do.
It's what we're told to do, or circumstances make you.
Sure.
Okay. So for me, look, I always liked reading about the world. I liked listening to music of the world. I like eating global food.
Sometimes consuming YouTube podcasts.
It's been a mix of all of that. So that what you say, if you're born to do it, yeah, sure. All of this gets into that. Yeah, it's a natural.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
This is a question that comes from the engineer inside me. Are you following the AI revolution based on whatever's happening in the world? I'm sure you are. I mean, that was just an intro to the question. Okay, that's podcasting techniques. Let's talk a little bit about the role of AI. I would love for you to also give an input on the role of quantum computing because it's come up in geopolitical conversations. How do you look at it from your perspective? The future of technology. I don't know if you should watch this show called Black Mirror.
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's about the technologies that are upcoming. And Yuval Noah Harari says that the stuff they've shown in Black Mirror is so realistic. It's either already happening or it's going to happen in 5 to 10 years.
Or it'll happen once you watch the show.
Possibly. Because science fiction determines where science goes. But do you follow whatever's happening in the world of engineering technology? And how do you look at it affecting our country, our foreign policy, etc., etc.?
I'm not an engineer. And I'll give you what I hope is like a common sense answer from my perspective. And I'll take you back actually to your first question.
Sure.
You asked me, do I watch patterns? Okay. Sure, I watch patterns. That's how I do my business. That's why I think I can be good at my business. Now, just imagine, I am humanly, because I have limited capabilities as a human being, I'm watching the patterns of 200 people who I deal with every day. Imagine if I could process the patterns of 200 million people. Okay. That's the world which you are talking about. That with each one of us, we are like a walking emitter of electronic patterns. Okay. What you download, what you say, what you listen to, what you buy, what you eat. You're creating, earlier on, there would have been a pattern, but you couldn't see it. Okay. Today, that pattern is organized. It has actually become a business. It has become politics. It has become strategy. It is actually, at the end of the day, this how do you sort of mega process patterns? And that then gives you a fantastic edge. So, imagine a Virat Kohli who has at his fingertips everything about everybody is ever going to be batting against. Man, that's a dream world, isn't it?
Be able to predict each delivery, each strategy. So maybe the way we should build out artificial intelligence as humans is we should develop an AI-based assistant for you. For you to be able to, that's
don't worry, it'll happen.
Or is it already happening? You never know. Okay. How often do quantum computing conversations come up? Because it's come up on the show from a geopolitical perspective. The first country that cracks it will...
Right now, actually, if you ask me what's right on our plate, it's much more semiconductors. There's this whole chip war, which is going on. You can say a tech war, which is going on. So a lot of what we are doing today is about that. And it's about how do you actually prepare for an era where, sort of chips, you can say, is the new oil. And in fact, I was a week ago in Europe, and thereafter with the PM at the Quad in Japan. And a big part of those conversations were really about how countries cooperate to ensure what we call trusted collaboration, which is countries who have that faith in each other, who have similar systems. We use the word like-minded. These are normally market economies, democracies, how people with companies who follow company ethics and rules, like we know. How do these countries really come together and create a kind of a supply chain? Now, here's the bit which I think particularly your younger listeners should look at. There was a time 10 years ago, maybe more, 7, 8 years ago even, I used to go around telling people, saying, look, you need to open up your economy more, mobility. There's Indians who would be looking for opportunities to work, because we really start, especially under Prime Minister Modi, one thing he keeps dinning into us, think of the world as a global workplace. Okay, this is one regular message we get from him in every possible way.
As a global workplace?
Global workplace. That don't think your work opportunities could be anywhere. Now, it's your job in foreign policy to open up those doors. Okay. Why should a talented Indian be restricted? Okay. Now, if you are going to work everywhere, and this doesn't have to be rocket science, okay? I mean, you have people working in merchant shipping and air crews, in blue collar jobs, in professional jobs, as chartered accountant, any profession you take. How do you actually give a full kind of space for Indian talent to do its best? Now, coming back to this, I find because today we are moving into that tech competition or tech wars era, there's a huge demand today for trusted talent, for people who play by the rules, who understand how the international business systems work, skilled people, talented people. And these are the age group, we are looking at kind of below 35s. They are massively in demand in the world. And we just came out of Australia. We did a mobility agreement. The week before, I signed one with Austria. Austria, is not a country which you would immediately think of in terms of migration. Done it with Germany, with a number of European countries, and even with the US. Prime Minister is going to be going there next month. A lot of it is, look, how do we create the flows? Now, these kind of flows are going to be very different. It's like the world. You are very familiar, perhaps more than me. Your habits change. People don't have to leave India anymore to work somewhere. The global workplace doesn't mean you shift your place. It just means your employer doesn't have to be in the same town or the same country, or the service you render doesn't have to be there. So that's the kind of world, we are getting prepared for. So for me, if you look at the tech space, the global workplace, the mobility, the semiconductor, the what called critical emerging technologies, this is really what is sucking up the oxygen.
When I was growing up in the 2000s and early 2010s, you'd often go for family functions where the families would encourage the kids to leave India. And that used to piss me off when I was a kid. Why do you want to leave your country? Let's do something for the country. Maybe that's just the cricket fan in me talking, but it led me in the right direction. More than half of all the engineering students with me in college left the country. A lot of them wish to come back. I want you to directly address those people who are on the fence about coming back. How do we reverse this brain drain problem? That's one part of the question. Two, please address the parents who still want their kids to leave the country. And please address the kids who want to leave the country for whatever reason.
Look, I would define the issue differently from you.
Sure.
If you define it as, brain drain, here's our country, there is abroad, why are you leaving? You're making it a kind of choice which you may not necessarily get the outcomes you want. Okay. I put it to you very differently. It's, the world's like a kind of a membrane. You can go in and out. And actually, that's what's going to happen. I've actually encountered a lot of people who do a job, go abroad, do a job, come back, go again abroad. The days when you said, oh, if I leave a foreign country and come back to India, oh my God, maybe I'll never go back again. Now that's no longer the case. So what you say, yeah, sure, maybe 10, 15 years ago, that's the way the world was. I think we need to today recognize that, there was a time when you said a short-term job is what is the employer's preference. For a lot of people today, would actually say, okay, let me take this, but I'm not sure I'm going to commit my entire life to this. That's also happening. So the job is changing, the people are changing, mobility is changing, global economy is changing. I think you're going to see a lot of this up and down, movement. And people will also realize in many industries that actually you may get an opportunity in India, which may be better than an opportunity abroad.
Yeah. Sure. We have too many Indian Steve Wozniaks sitting in America right now who've studied, gained experiences of working in tech there. We have a lot of Steve Jobses in India who are looking for Wozniaks to come back here and build the kind of companies that we're seeing built out in Silicon Valley. So do you have anything to say about that? Is that correct thinking?
Look, I've been to Silicon Valley a few times. I see changes even in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley today is much more interested in the valleys of India. That's also happening. So it's not like escape to Silicon Valley and guys, now I found Nirvana.
Anymore.
Sure. I think you're seeing a lot of people, out there coming back. After all, look, even for people out there, when they now see, you take the example of Apple, okay? You know why it's been an important event is it's had a very strong resonance at different levels. It's had a resonance in manufacturing. It's a kind of validation of an improved business atmosphere. It's also, by the way, a testament to the quality of people they find. Now, frankly, this wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. So it's a very good example. Look, I can always tell anybody, everything is much better 10 years. Now you'll say, okay, show me the proof. To me, that's a proof. When you actually have good global companies, and the other interesting thing is when you have Indian companies, the big ones, who are actually now saying, maybe I'm going to invest a bit more in India. I don't need to necessarily hedge by going out. So that too is a factor. So things are happening.
Okay. Why are you doing this podcast?
I'm doing this podcast, one, because I like you. But two, I'm also doing it because I feel today you need to get people to understand what we are about, what the government's about, what the world is about. And different people absorb differently. Okay. There's still people, the beauty with India is you have 20 different mediums spread over 200 years. All of them are still working. It's like having an old model that's also working, and the latest gizmo is also working. So today, Man Ki Baat also works. Okay, newspapers also work. But it's who you're talking to.
Okay.
So, this is a different set of people I'm talking to, a different generation of people I'm talking to.
I would love to believe that my podcast audience is the one that wants aggressive growth. It's the Virat Kohlis of the future of this country. I hope so. So, considering that these are all extremely aggressive leaders, one last question for you on this chat, and I hope it's the first chat of many, many more chats that we have eventually. What's your message to all the young Virat Kohlis watching this and young Jemima Rodriguez is watching this who will take the country further?
I'm so glad you used the second name because, I actually this year got really, it's something which I've followed for some time, but I think when I watch the women's league and I find that's something which is also really, it's like watching a new emerging kind of activity. But
Vikings would always invade with the women as well.
Okay, all right.
We need to be Vikings now. Anyway,
okay.
Let's go on.
You notice I'm not disputing it. But no, look, my message would be different era, have self-belief. The kind of opportunities, the possibilities of this era are very different. I think today it's very important at one level. I spoke about thinking big and thinking kind of practical, deep detail. Similarly, I would say we need to look at the big choices we make, the national choices we make. We need to look at the personal choices we make. They're not divorced from each other. A good, sound national choice actually widens your personal choices. And look, anybody with age wants to be younger. Okay, it's a natural feeling. But truly, for someone who's today, say 20, there's a world waiting out them to happen. And I think it's the obligation of people like us to sort of open that up as much, to prepare it as much, to create that kind of favorable ground. And when maybe in the next chat we should do this. actually, you look at Indian cricket and Indian diplomacy. I think there's a lot that they could learn from each other. That could be a subject in itself.
Wow. Okay. So many more tangential questions just related to that thought. One last question. There's also a lot of YouTubers, and I would like to say extremely early thought leaders. Maybe we are, because we do influence a large mass of people. What's your message for them? What role do we have for our country?
Look, I think today you honestly don't have to be experienced, which is another nice way of saying a little older, to lead. Leadership can come from a young person. Conversely, there are people who may be older who would relate to a young person precisely because they have that kind of confidence. I was very struck. I was reading something which PV Sindhu had written, and one of the points she made was, how is it that Narendra Modi is today a youth icon? Why is he a youth icon? It's a very interesting question. It's worth thinking about. So I think that's a good note to end this session. So I too look forward to another one at some stage. I've given you an idea today, but always open to your thoughts.
Dr. Jai Shankar, honor of my life.
Thank
That's
you.
all I will say. Thank you for everything you're doing. The whole I is India conversation. We all know that secretly. The youth is obsessed with geopolitics nowadays. Thank you, sir. Means a lot. Looking forward to